Hi, I'm here today with Julianna Warner, paralegal for the JFCS Immigration Legal Services Department. Julianna, how are you doing this morning?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Thanks for joining us. So Julianna, there's been a lot of conversation recently about the unaccompanied children who have been crossing the southern U.S. border. It's been in the news a lot. Can you explain a little bit about who these children are and how they got here?
Yeah, most of the kids that we work with are from the Northern Triangle, which is El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. And these kids are often coming through Mexico by bus or by train, not usually passenger trains, often on the top of trains. It's a very dangerous journey. And then they arrive to the U.S.-Mexico border, and they cross that border as well.
So why are these children making this dangerous trip by themselves without their parents?
So I interview each of the kids that we work with individually. So I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of different children with a lot of different stories, and their experiences range from getting away from gang violence or gang threats, and to maybe they don't have parents, or they're sometimes trafficked as well. So there's a huge range of issues that they're trying to get away from.
Hmm. And so after they do cross the border, what happens to them next?
So they cross the border, and the kids that we work with have been apprehended at the border. They're detained at the border. They're held in a detention facility for a few days, and then they're sent to shelters all over the U.S. And we work with some shelters in the area and in West Virginia. And they're in these shelters basically so that the shelter staff can ensure that these kids are going to be sent to a sponsor who can really take care of them, who has space for them in their house, who knows them, and who will basically take care of them. I would recommend, if anyone is interested in learning a little bit more in detail about what happens, Orlando Portela, who is one of the attorneys at JFCS, has some great videos on YouTube explaining this process. Our involvement begins when they arrive at the shelters in the area. And what we do is we do a Know Your Rights presentation. So we teach them their rights. We talk about what options are available to them. And then we do a legal screening, during which we are able to ask them questions about their past, and to kind of see if we can help them start the process of a visa or asylum or whatever process might apply in their situation.
How do we provide services to children who are a few months old or a few years old? How do we inform them about their rights? How do we get the process started for children who are that young?
Yeah, so the Know Your Rights presentation that we give to the children, really how we present it really depends on the age of the kids. So if they're older and can understand the process of going to court and what a lawyer is, and all of those things, we can talk about it in different language. And for smaller kids, we have to really adapt that language and to something that they could understand.
So you're finding age-appropriate ways through play, through imagination, to try to get at what their stories are and to inform them about what their rights are now that they're here in the U.S.
Exactly, yeah.
So do the kids that we work with in the local shelters in our area, do they end up being able to stay in the United States?
It really depends. And often we don't get to see what actually happens. Without legal representation, it is very often that these kids will get sent back home, which is why we also send the kids, when they're released to their sponsors, we send them a list of pro bono attorneys in their area, in their sponsors area, so that they can get the help that they need, and so that they have the opportunity to try to stay with one of the.
So it sounds like there are a few different categories of kids we work with. We work with kids who are sent to our area and they are living in facilities, and we prepare them and educate them. And then there are also kids who are sent to live with sponsors who live in our area. And what do we do with the kids who are sent to live with sponsors in our area? What kind of work do we do with them?
If we are representing these kids, the attorneys will accompany them to court hearings. We help them with any questions they have about their case. And then if they're applying for one of the visas, so say, just as an example, say one child is here with a sponsor and they are eligible for an SIJ, which is a special immigrant juvenile status visa, we would start that process for them and guide them through that process.
What's one thing about the unaccompanied children that you think might surprise people?
One thing that's really surprised me is just how vulnerable and how open they become when I'm talking to them. So I have to ask them a lot of really difficult questions. I have to, basically, I want to know what happened to them in their life that might make them eligible for a visa. And often the eligibility requirements for a visa are really, really tough requirements. So, I'm asking them really hard questions about their families and about past trauma. So what's really surprised me or stood out to me is how willing they are to open up to a complete stranger about really difficult things that have happened to them.
Well, Julianna, thank you for the work that you do with these unaccompanied children and that your coworkers here at JFCS do.
Thank you.